You've been lied to about saving money. The first $20,000 doesn't make you rich, it changes the rules. Before 20K, money controls you. After 20K, money starts working for you. And here's the danger. Most people hit this number once, waste it without realizing what just unlocked, and spend the rest of their lives wondering why they never got ahead. If you don't understand what changes at $20,000, you'll never keep it. Hey there, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Mike, and I break down personal finance without the boring textbook garbage. Before we dive in, do me a favor. If you've ever felt like the financial system is rigged against regular people, smash that like button right now. And if you want more real talk about money that actually makes sense, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because I drop videos like this every week. All right, let's get into it. Today, I'm going to tell you something that literally nobody else is talking about. Pour yourself a drink, get comfortable, and maybe silence your phone, because what I'm about to share is going to fundamentally change how you think about money, saving, and building wealth. We're talking about the $20,000 threshold. Why does everything change when you hit this number? Why does the entire financial game suddenly shift? And more importantly, how can you use this knowledge to accelerate your own wealth building starting today? Ready? Let's go. So, let me ask you something. When exactly did you realize that the entire financial system is basically one giant video game, and most of us are playing on hard mode while some people discover the cheat codes? Yeah, I'll wait. Because here's what's absolutely hilarious to me, right? We spend our entire lives being told to save money. Save for emergencies, save for retirement, save because your grandmother looked at you with those disappointed eyes and said, "Money doesn't grow on trees." And you know what? She was right. It doesn't grow on trees. It grows on itself. But here's the part that makes me laugh so hard I almost choke on my overpriced coffee. Nobody, and I mean nobody, tells you that saving your first $20,000 is like crossing some invisible threshold in a video game where suddenly the entire interface changes. The NPCs start speaking differently. New options appear in your menu. Quest lines you didn't even know existed suddenly unlock. At $5,000 saved, you're cute. Banks send you emails like, "Great job, sport," with little confetti emojis. At $10,000, your friends nod and say, "Nice, you're doing pretty well." But hit $20,000? Oh man, suddenly you're getting phone calls about wealth management strategies and investment opportunities, and would you like to speak with our private banking division? It's like financial puberty, except instead of acne and awkward conversations, you get spreadsheets and compound interest calculators. And honestly, I'm not sure which is more uncomfortable. So buckle up, because I'm about to tell you exactly why everything changes at $20,000, and I'm going to use actual science, real psychology, and just enough sarcasm to keep you awake. Deal? Cool. Let's start with something called the hedonic treadmill, which sounds like some terrible gym equipment but is actually way more sinister. This beauty comes from psychologists Philip Brickman and Donald Campbell back in the 70s, and it explains why lottery winners end up just as happy or unhappy as they were before winning millions of dollars. The idea is simple and absolutely devastating. Humans adapt to everything. You get a raise, you're ecstatic for like 3 weeks, then it becomes your new normal. You buy a new car, it's amazing for a month, then it's just the thing that gets you to work. This is why your brain is basically sabotaging your financial future on a daily basis, but we'll get to that. Here's where it gets interesting with the $20,000 mark. There's this concept in behavioral economics called mental accounting, coined by Philip Thaler, who won a Nobel Prize for basically proving that humans are terrible at math when emotions are involved. Shocking, I know. Below $20,000, your brain categorizes your savings as emergency money, or that thing I'm desperately trying to build. It's defensive, it's anxious. Every dollar you save feels like you're holding the tide with a bucket. Your stress hormones are doing the cha-cha. Studies show that financial stress literally reduces your cognitive function by 13 IQ points. 13! That's like trying to make investment decisions after pulling an all-nighter and drinking cheap tequila. But here's what happens at $20,000. Your brain recategorizes that money. It's no longer just survival cash. It becomes opportunity cash. And that flip, that psychological switch, changes everything about how you interact with money. Let me give you some actual numbers that'll make you laugh and cry at the same time. At $1,000 saved, earning 7% annually, which is roughly the historical stock market average after inflation, you make $70 in year one. 70 bucks! That's like 3 Chipotle burritos, maybe 4 if you skip the guac. After 10 years of compound interest, you've got about $1,900. Cool, you can buy a used laptop. Congrats. But at $20,000 saved, same 7% return, you make $1,400 in year one. That's a decent vacation. That's rent in some cities. That's a used Honda Civic's monthly payment. After 10 years, you've got over $39,000. Wait, what just happened there? Your money started making more money than your summer job in high school. Your money is now a better employee than teenage you ever was. It shows up every day, doesn't complain, doesn't call in sick with a mysterious stomach flu before a math test, and actually performs. This is where the Pareto principle comes in, also called the 80-20 rule. Vilfredo Pareto was this Italian economist who noticed that 80% of Italy's land was owned by 20% of the population. Then people started seeing this pattern everywhere. 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. 80% of complaints come from 20% of customers. And here's the kicker. 80% of your wealth building happens after you hit certain critical thresholds. 20,000 is one of those thresholds. Because here's what nobody tells you. The first 20,000 is absolutely brutal. You're fighting lifestyle creep. You're fighting emergencies. You're fighting your own brain telling you that you deserve things because you had a hard week. But that first 20,000 teaches you something more valuable than the money itself. It teaches you that you can delay gratification consistently over a long period of time. And that, my friends, is the actual superpower. Okay. Let's talk about what I call the secret menu phenomenon, because this is where things get properly weird. You know how In-N-Out Burger has that secret menu that everyone knows about but isn't officially on the board? Animal-style fries, protein-style burgers, the Flying Dutchman that's just meat and cheese because apparently we've given up on bread as a society. The financial system has secret menus too, except they're actually secret, and the bouncers checking IDs are dollar amounts. At $20,000 saved, you suddenly have access to things that were literally unavailable to you before. Not because you weren't smart enough or didn't know about them, because the minimum buy-in was higher than what you had. Real index funds, not those garbage mutual funds with 2% expense ratios that your bank tried to sell you, often have minimums between $3,000 and $10,000. Vanguard's Admiral shares, the good stuff with rock-bottom fees of like 0.04%, requires $10,000 minimum in most funds. Robo-advisors will take your money at any level, sure, but at $20,000, they'll actually diversify you properly instead of just dumping everything into one target date fund and calling it a day. Real estate crowdfunding platforms, the ones that aren't just monopoly money with extra steps, often have minimums between $10,000 and $25,000. And here's my favorite part. You can actually diversify. Below $20,000, diversification means you have like $47 in 3 different stocks, and you tell yourself you're being strategic. At $20,000, you can build an actual portfolio that doesn't completely implode if one sector has a bad Tuesday. But the real change isn't the investment options, it's psychological. And this is where we need to talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, because apparently we're doing a full psychology course now. Abraham Maslow theorized that human needs exist in a hierarchy. Bottom level is physiological, food, water, shelter, not dying. Next is safety, security, employment, health. Then love and belonging, then esteem, then self-actualization at the top, where you're writing poetry and finding meaning in sunsets or whatever. Below $20,000 saved, you're stuck at that safety level. Every financial decision is about risk mitigation. Can I afford this? What if my job I lose? What if my car explodes? And when you're operating from that fear-based mindset, you make fear-based decisions. But at $20,000, you've got 6 to 8 months of expenses saved for most people. Suddenly, you can think about growth instead of just survival. You can think about optimization. You can take calculated risks. Your terrible boss who micromanages your bathroom breaks? You've got options now. You can job hunt without the panic of, I need something, anything by next month. An emergency happens, you can handle it without starting a GoFundMe campaign with a sad story and stock photos of yourself looking contemplative. This is what the personal finance people call FU money, though I prefer I have choices money because I'm sophisticated and classy like that. Now, here's where our hero, that's you with your $20,000, faces the real villain. Plot twist. The villain is also you. Future you. The you who's about to make some spectacularly dumb decisions. You've also unlocked a new psychological trap called analysis paralysis, which is rooted in something called the paradox of choice. Barry Schwartz wrote a whole book about this. The basic idea is that having more options doesn't make us happier. It makes us more anxious and less satisfied with whatever we choose because we're always wondering if we made the wrong choice. Below $20,000, your financial decision-making is simple. Should I save this? Yes. At $20,000, okay, should I invest in VOO or VTI? What about international exposure? What's my risk tolerance? Should I use dollar-cost averaging or lump sum investing? What about bonds? Do I need tips? What about real estate? Should I learn about options? What's a REIT? Why is everyone yelling about crypto? Your brain is melting like a Salvador Dali painting, and you haven't even made a decision yet. And then, you unlock the comparison trap in high definition. There's this thing called relative deprivation theory from sociologist Samuel Stauffer. He studied soldiers in World War II and found something hilarious. Soldiers in units with low promotion rates were more satisfied than soldiers in units with high promotion rates. Why? Because the guys in high promotion units constantly compared themselves to people getting promoted faster than them, while the guys in low promotion units just accepted that promotions were rare. At $5,000 saved, you're comparing yourself to people with $0 saved. You feel pretty good. At $20,000 saved, you're suddenly comparing yourself to people with $100,000, $500,000, $1 million saved, and you feel like a failure even though you're doing better than 80% of Americans. Studies show that once basic needs are met, happiness doesn't come from absolute wealth, it comes from relative wealth. You've unlocked a whole new level of potential misery. Achievement unlocked. You get a trophy made of existential dread. Okay, enough roasting. Let's talk actual strategy, but I'm going to make it fun because if I have to read one more boring finance blog written by someone who thinks excitement is a well-formatted Excel spreadsheet, I'm going to lose it. Here's what you actually do with $20,000, and this comes from actual financial theory, not from your cousin who killed it on GameStop one time and never shuts up about it. First, the emergency fund. I know, it's boring. You know what else is boring? Car insurance, vegetables, dental hygiene. Some boring things keep you alive and prevent catastrophically expensive problems. Keep 3 to 6 months of expenses somewhere liquid and accessible. High-yield savings account, money market fund, something that earns more than the 0.01% insult that traditional banks offer. This is your life happens fund. This is your the universe has a sense of humor and it's not funny fund. Second, if you have any debt with interest rates above 6 or 7%, destroy it. Obliterate it. This is math, not emotions. If you're paying 24% APR on a credit card while researching stocks, you're doing the financial equivalent of shopping for a yacht while your house is on fire. Paying off 24% debt is a 24% guaranteed return. Show me an investment that guarantees 24% annual returns, and I'll show you either a scam or something illegal. Third, here's where the magic happens. Once you've got your emergency fund and you've killed your high-interest debt, you enter what I call the compound interest machine phase. Now, most people want me to tell them about individual stocks, crypto, options trading, real estate flipping, all the sexy stuff. So let me tell you the truth that nobody wants to hear. 90% of active traders underperform the S&P 500 index. 90%. Your uncle who made a killing on Tesla conveniently forgets to mention the 8 other stocks he lost money on. That's called survivorship bias, and it's a hell of a drug. The mutual funds that beat the market get advertised. The ones that tank quietly disappear from the website. Here's the strategy that's boring, proven, and actually works. It's called the Bogle strategy, named after John Bogle, who founded Vanguard and spent his entire life trying to convince people that the secret to wealth is being boring and patient. 80 to 90% of your investment money goes into total market index funds. VTI, VTSAX, SPY, whatever. You're buying tiny pieces of the entire U.S. economy. 10 to 20% goes into international index funds because the U.S. isn't the only place where humans are being innovative. Rebalance once a year while you're eating leftover pizza and watching Netflix. That's it. That's the strategy. The fees are essentially zero, like 0.03 to 0.04%. You're betting on human innovation and productivity, which historically has a pretty decent track record. And it's boring enough that you won't constantly check it and make emotional decisions. I know it's not exciting, it's not going to make you feel like a genius day trader, but you know what's exciting? Becoming a millionaire in your sleep because compound interest did all the heavy lifting. And here's the kicker. This is backed by actual research. Studies in behavioral economics show that people who hit significant savings milestones negotiate salaries 23% more aggressively. They take calculated career risks at 3 times the rate of people living paycheck to paycheck. They report 40% less financial anxiety. They make better long-term decisions because they're not constantly in fight or flight mode. The money compounds financially, sure, but it also compounds psychologically, socially, and professionally. Your confidence grows. Your network grows because you can take networking opportunities that cost money. Your skill set grows because you can invest in education. Your opportunities grow because you're visible and available when they appear. So here is the final truth bomb, and then I'll let you go back to your life. The $20,000 threshold isn't magic. The number isn't special. You want to know what's actually special? You proved to yourself that you can do hard things consistently over time. You delayed gratification month after month. You made trade-offs. You said no to short-term pleasure for long-term gain. You built a habit of paying yourself first. You demonstrated discipline when discipline was boring and unrewarding. That's not just a financial skill. That's a life skill that transfers to everything. Career advancement, relationships, health, creative pursuits. Literally everything worthwhile in life requires the ability to do hard things when you don't feel like it. The financial system changes at $20,000 because you've demonstrated that you're serious. You're not a tourist in the land of financial responsibility. You're a resident. You've earned your citizenship. If you actually made it this far, you've already demonstrated more patience and attention span than 99% of people, which means you're probably going to be fine. Now go, build something. Your future self is watching, and they're really hoping you don't screw this up. No pressure, though. Now, you know what the best part about all of this is? 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you're going to look back at this moment, at this decision to take your finances seriously, and you're going to thank yourself. Not because you'll be rich, though you might be. Not because life will be perfect, because it won't be. But because you'll have freedom, real freedom. The freedom to say yes to opportunities. The freedom to say no to things that don't serve you. The freedom to live life on your terms instead of constantly reacting to whatever financial crisis shows up next. That $20,000, it's not the destination, it's the launching pad. And where you go from here, that's entirely up to you. Thanks for hanging out with me for the last 18 minutes. This has been Mike, reminding you that the best time to start building wealth was 10 years ago. The second best time is right now. So what are you waiting for? Before you go, if this video helped you see money differently, do me a solid and hit that like button. Share this with one person who needs to hear it, just one. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you doing? Click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Drop a comment below and tell me, where are you in your savings journey? Are you grinding toward that first $20,000? Already past it? Let me know. I read every single comment. And hey, if you want to go deeper on any of this stuff, building your emergency fund, choosing the right index funds, negotiating your salary, let me know what video you want next. This channel exists to serve you. Go make it happen.